All right, welcome into another edition of the Illegal Contact Podcast. It is the same four as last week, guys. This is a miracle. We are repeating
Christian next week, so long as he loses in softball tonight. So we want
and I don't think he'll have a problem
Christian
losing
lose.
because it seems like every game's a blowout, unfortunately.
He says he's the best player, and if Christian's the best player, I question the
Well, we love you, Christian. We can't wait for you to join us next week. We're gonna write it in Sharpie. Welcome in. We got Kyle, Thomas, Jared, Peyton. We're gonna do the NFL episode this week here, and we've got some up and down topics to talk about. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly. We're gonna get into it. Let's start with the fan perspective in NFL. Peyton, we will let you go last. Kyle, go for it because you have so much to talk about the Cowboys.
I have so much to talk about the Cowboys.
So much.
They didn't play. They didn't win. They didn't lose. That's what we got for Cowboys.
The biggest news for the Cowboys is Odell.
Did that happen today?
No, it didn't happen, but it's like it's been all over the rumor.
Yeah.
The newest OBJ rumor.
Yeah.
And the Lions won, Kyle. Your Lions beat the Packers.
Okay. So if we want to talk fan perspective and annoyance, because again, I'm not a Lions fan, even though you guys claim that I am. I get annoyed because all I see I'm friends with a lot of Lions fans on social media, and I follow Detroit social media. And so all I see is Lions are only 2 games out of the wild card spot at 2 like I'm not even joking. I am not even joking.
Last week they were
Those
saying
are actual
fire Dan Campbell.
And actual people who were calling into the radio station yesterday that I was listening to that were saying they're only 2 games out of the wild card spot. And I was like, okay, technically that's true, but you're actually more than 2 games out. You're 2.5 wins out. And no, just stop.
And were you hearing any Dan Campbell? Let's fire him before.
Yeah.
Right. So it went from the week before, let's fire our coaching staff. It's a full rebuild now. Playoffs.
Yeah. I didn't see any Lions game. I know there was even they very much could have lost on a Dan Campbell decision. Apparently that was not great, but I don't know the details of it. So yeah, there's my fan perspective from dealing with the other fans that I'm not a fan of. So
now, Thomas, do you want to start us off with the amazing Jets victory, or?
Yeah, we got a little bit of Jets here. I mean, wow, Jets end up pulling off the big upset, Jared, and I realistically did not see this coming at all. I'm going to be honest. Especially after the Patriots game, right?
You know who did see it coming? You know who did? The coin flip guy. He saw it coming.
The coin flip guy, 9 straight for the coin flip guy. Hey, he has us in the AFC Championship. So
yes, he does.
But he also has us getting swept by the Patriots, which is just,
that's egregious.
Like to see that. It's just that sucks. But seriously, I mean, did you see this coming? They beat the Bills 20-17. Very close game. Defense lights out. Did you see this coming at all? Because I honestly, especially after the Patriots game, most people probably didn't think they had this in them.
I felt like the defense is legit. They're going to keep us in any game against anybody. And I think the whole reason we got Jermaine Johnson is because we have to get pressure on these quarterbacks in our division because of the explosive offenses, especially Josh Allen. And Jermaine Johnson, to me, is a perfect fit for that. You also have Huff, who played an excellent game, had to play the game with that forced fumble towards the end, that big 3rd down that made it a 4th and forever. So, I mean, the defense just played absolutely phenomenal. And then Zach just really played game manager mode, and he did exactly what he needed to do, made some big plays when he needed to down the stretch. And, I mean, very good complementary football. Ran the ball extremely well, which I think that's something that we're kind of finding our identity here midway through the season. And it's a lot like the teams from 2009, 2010. It's going to be ground and pound and fantastic defensive play with timely quarterback play, because Mark Sanchez would come up timely for us in the playoffs as well. So I'm interested to see just how the rest of the season goes. Again, young quarterback, just like Mark Sanchez was. I mean, the script is very much the same.
The Rex Ryan figure, right?
That's right. That big defensive. Yep.
Yeah. It really is the same blueprint from the 09, 2010 team, same blueprint as the San Francisco teams that made it, that far in the recent years, right? Dominant defense. And we know this in the NFL, right? This, it's very cyclical in the NFL, but if you have a defense that can create pressure without blitzing consistently, then you're going to be in any game, right? And then you can go on runs. That's what the Jets have been able to do. They are last week blitzed the least amount of any team, but had top 5 pressure on a quarterback. So they're creating pressure, they're getting to the quarterback. They're top 5 in sacks, but they're also one of the lowest teams in blitz rate. So if you can do that, that means you can drop more guys in coverage, but also be able to, get pressure on the quarterback, which has been an issue since 2010. So like I said, Jermaine Johnson, Quentin Williams has been, an absolute beast. Bryce Huff. That's the biggest thing. And we've gone this long without saying, Sauce Gardner's name, and he's going to be defensive player of the year at this point. So yeah, defense is all but positives.
And I almost would, if I'm the committee looking at this, I almost would give Sauce the defensive rookie of the year. Quentin Williams is playing at a defensive player of the year level right now. I mean, he really is. He's really Aaron Donald 2.0. And that was kind of his MO coming out of college from Alabama, was he was a game wrecker. And I mean, his skill set is just, it's rare. He's got power. He's got speed. He demands double teams. So I love what I'm seeing from the defense. And then offense, again, it's just kind of slow as she goes, but hey, it gets the job done. So I know we kept the Bills' offense off the field. I mean, we really did with our offense. We kept their offense off the field. So that was kind of the game management was extremely well played by us.
Yeah, I definitely feel a lot better if Breece Hall was still playing. I don't know if they're going to be able to get, 150 yards total from Robinson and Michael Carter most weeks. Especially, the Bills are a little bit beat up without Matt Milano and Tre'Davious White wasn't out there. Bill fans, I don't want to hear about injuries though. You can't blame the loss on injuries. The Jets have plenty of injuries as well. Every team does. But I don't know if they're going to be able to consistently run that well without Breece Hall, which means Zach Wilson's going to have to continue to make new steps. And hey, I like his confidence to be able to bounce back like this. And after such a bad loss, we saw it with Darnold. The seeing ghost game really broke him, right? A lot of these young quarterbacks, you have one terrible game, and it's usually against Belichick, and that really destroys a quarterback's confidence. I mean, we're seeing with Mac Jones, right? The way that he's kind of fallen apart, doesn't have the weapons around him. The offensive scheme's bad, but then the way that they managed him, he hasn't looked the same all year. And Zach Wilson to be able to bounce back, look confident, and especially using his legs a lot more, which I really liked. The designed runs, and then him being able to scramble out, live another day, get that first down. That's huge, but being able to bounce back after a terrible loss and a terrible showing against the Patriots, that was the biggest thing for me. That I don't know what his ceiling is, but if he's got that confidence and can shake off all the errors that he makes previously and learns from those, and that's what he's showing, that's at least a positive in showing that you could be a starting quarterback for years to come.
Yeah, and an underrated potential injury for us is Sheldon Rankins. I'm hoping that he is going to wind up being healthy. I know that Salah said that they're going to label him as week to week, but he's been huge for us too. Hasn't really put up the numbers, but when you actually watch game tape and film, he's definitely been a huge help for that defensive line. So hopefully he'll be all right.
Yeah, I mean, they have the depth there on the defensive line. They're built for that, and they haven't had too many injuries just yet in that regard. So hopefully they can absorb this, and it's good that he's not going to be out the whole year. Overall, amazing win, right? I mean, I love to see the Patriots after the bye, and I almost wish we were playing the Patriots now and then having the bye, continuing that momentum. But having the bye now comes at a perfect time. And last thing I'll say here is Salah really, from everything he's saying after this win, has that right mindset of this is not a vacation. I don't want these guys to go off, drink 10 beers, eat nachos, come back 10 pounds heavier. This is a perfect, but all they need to be focused, rested to be able to come back and play the Patriots. And we're not going to talk about the Giants much, but Giants just had their bye, and Xavier McKinney, who's one of their stars on defense this year, goes away to somewhere tropical, goes on an ATV sightseeing thing and breaks his hand. Now he's out for 4 weeks. I mean, that's almost grounds to break contract, right? You're breaking your hand on a vacation on an ATV.
Yeah.
You might see, especially in MLB, you're seeing that in contracts, and that could be voidable. So, having the right mindset for these players to make sure that you don't have anything stupid like that going on. That
one other thing I'll say, and then we can move on to Peyton, is I was wrong. Robert Salah, I am completely sold on.
So going back to our conversation from quite a few weeks ago, I'll give you Jets are more talented than the Lions.
Yeah.
So you were right there. Salah is a better coach than Dan Campbell. I was right there.
I think we can say that so far as well. Yeah.
Are you 100% sold there?
Oh yeah.
I am sold. Yes. I am sold on Salah now.
Okay, because if you lose out, are you still Salah's the guy?
For now. I mean,
whoa.
Well, it's
yeah. You can't say 100%. Nobody's 100% unless you're Bill Belichick. I mean, look at you can't say 100% on anybody. But
what's your percentage of Salah right now? And let's take coin flip guy out of it, because if he's right, I would say you're probably 100%.
I'm going to go with 80%.
Okay.
I mean, I want to see him manage success now, because if he can do that, and that's important. If he can manage success and we actually get to the playoffs this year, exceed expectations, that's already exceeding expectations. Mm-hmm. So he even if he throws in winning a wild card matchup, that's like above and beyond exceeding expectations. So I just like how he's managed the team. I like that he gets them ready. They seem a lot more prepared than they did in the first few games of this season. They actually look competent, and they look like they're supposed to be out there each and every week. And whatever culture he's creating, the guys are buying into it. The only person that has been Elijah Moore, and that's only because it feels like the media has kind of turned it into something that's not necessarily there. But yes, I know he's frustrated, but at the same time, and he should be, because he's got great ability. We don't know if he's a great player yet because he hasn't really been given the opportunities. But all that to say, I feel like Salah has just done a great job of getting these guys ready to go each and every week. And
so you're at 80%. Thomas, where are you
80%.
At?
Yeah, I was before Jared said, in my head I probably had about a 70-75% a level of confidence at this point. So it's definitely in the positive. It's definitely in the right direction. You get me double-digit wins this year, then it creeps up into the 90%, percentile, somewhere in that range. But you make the playoffs, you get double-digit wins, and he's earned a couple of years after that. He's earned that 90 percentile of confidence in a way, I would think, especially with how last year went. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of positives. We talked about the good though, right? Now we have to kind of talk about the bad, and that's the Colts coming off from statistics, most likely the worst offensive performance thus far in the NFL. The stats are showing some gruesome numbers in that 3-point showing, essentially.
It's funny how our offensive productivity was lower than when we lost to the Jags and got completely shut out. Yeah, we scored more points.
Scored more points, but those efficiency numbers are looking pretty poor.
That just goes to show how bad we are.
Yeah, we'll talk about the coaching afterwards, but as far as game plan, what you're seeing roster-wise, right? I just traded for Jonathan Taylor mid last week, and then he's out again. So, I'm a little bummed. Got some investment in here. I want him to be back to form, but what are you seeing after that? What was it, 26-3 loss to the Patriots?
Mm-hmm. So, Jonathan Taylor, I know that's been a hot topic, and I think most of the Colts community agrees right now. Like, we don't care about the season as much at this point. We want to make sure that he's okay and healthy. Like, we're not ever going to, it's one thing if you're making a playoff run, maybe you push your guys a little bit. We're not that team this year. So we're not concerned with the, productivity that he gives us in the run game right now. We just want to make sure he's healthy because he is our future offensively at the running back position. So, yeah, it was not – I wasn't super surprised at how bad we were. I was a little surprised at some of the that we weren't trying to just take more risks with Ellinger. Like, I mean, what do we have to lose at this point? And I feel like it was still a thought of, like, well, we really need to make sure that we, don't put him in a bad position and can't risk too much. Like, let the guy just sling it and see what happens. Worst that's going to happen is we lose the game like we expect to. So let's just see if he can make something special happen. So the biggest things for me, we're wasting a talented defense. They're out there so much that they're just getting worn down, and you can't. Any defense, even some of the best defenses out there, like, if you are on the field for most of the game, like, you're going to get beat down by these offenses. Regardless of which offenses across the field from you, they're still professional offenses. Like, the time that you are out there makes a big difference. So I'm bummed to see how talented of a defense we have from a roster standpoint, from general productivity up to this point, and especially in the run game. And some of our QB pressure stats. Like, I like what we have there. Our secondary's been pretty gross, but I want to give them a rest. The offense, I'm not at all upset with our receiving core, our running backs, like even the lack of depth that we now have behind Jonathan Taylor, having gotten rid of Nyheim Hines. I'm not upset with that at all. What I'm upset with is the offensive line, and then obviously the coordinating, game preparation, play calling. Like, it's just not there. And I mean, yes, we're going to get into coaching, so clearly it wasn't there for Irsay in his mind as well. But it just looks like there's not a collective direction for the team to go. And you got to have that from the coaching staff. I was sad to see Reich go after one game of play calling. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, you just got to kind of let Sam run loose. I think he was being conservative because he knows he was coaching for his job.
Do you think that he didn't know? Do you think that he kind of was still in the dark at that point up to the game? Or do you think Reich knew previously? Because the timing of everything was weird. Why didn't they do the offensive coordinator and him together? Why was it in stages, right? But also you kind of go back and see some of Reich's comments at the time, especially with the Matt Ryan situation. It kind of felt like he knew it was happening even back then with the Matt Ryan situation. That he knew he was kind of a lame duck, and it was probably at the end. So do you think that he knew, but still, could maybe save it and try harder, or do you think it was just he was done? He didn't put much effort into it in this game plan, and it kind of.
I think he knew several games ago.
Yeah,
and that once Marcus Brady was let go. I wasn't a huge fan of his promotion anyway, and that really showed over the last couple of years. But yeah, I think he knew several games ago. Irsay's a pretty open guy when it comes to this stuff. He's not a Jerry Jones who is just going to kind of off the cuff make a decision.
Yeah, there's no backstabbing.
Yeah. We're not having a Tom Landry situation. Granted, very different scenarios. But yeah, I don't think it was a surprise for Reich at all. And Reich is getting paid. I mean, we had him locked up for 5 more years, so he's going to be fine.
I think I saw he's getting $200,000 a week for the next 4 years or whatever, 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it's he's not hurting.
Yeah. But if we look at the coaching situation, which I think is the bigger story at this point for our team, if we can go ahead and transition into that. Jeff Saturday, I'm already getting riled up in my mind. Oh boy. So was I upset to see Reich let go? Yes, I was. If Jim Irsay was in front of me, what would I say to him? I'd be like, look, I get it. Like, I get it. I'm bummed. I wish we could have given a little bit longer, especially if the season wasn't going well. Just play it out and see how he does. I think that Irsay is sending a message at this point of I am tolerating none of this crap. Like, you are not going to come in here and halfway prepare or, give the excuse of practices are great, but it's just not translating to the field. Like, that is not okay as an excuse for a coach. Like, that's your job, is to practice well and translate it to the field with these, with this talent, with these players. So what I expected was Gus Bradley. He has past head coaching experience. He's been in the league for a while. Like, he's well known. I thought he was just going to step in and continue with his defensive coordinator role. They would limp along with the offense, but he would just be the face of things on Sundays. So I think that naming Jeff Saturday lists a few things. First of all, I think it tells Gus Bradley, hey, you're next. If there's not a trust to give him a dying team for this year to just be the face, I think it's, hey, you really need to hunker down and show us that you need to remain as the defensive coordinator. So I think that's one thing. The other thing that I've seen, and I'm buying into, there's a few writers out there that have brought this up. Jeff Saturday has been a consultant for a few years, so he's familiar with the organization, knows the roster that we've been built. I think he's mostly been consulting on like the player development and personnel side of things. So he understands the ins and outs of the roster that we've been building. And I've seen some people saying that he was named because he is a very trusted confidant of Jim Irsay, who will then be able to go in and give a much more objective view from the coaching perspective on what Ballard is building, if it's actually something that will work or not. Jeff Saturday knows a football team. Like, he knows how, the strengths, the weaknesses, like he can get that side. He's lived it. He is consulting on it now. Like, I trust that he will be able to give that insight. Now, there's obviously other things that go into being a GM that Irsay will have to take into account from other people within the organization, from his daughters, from his own view. Like, I fully believe that, but I think he trusts Jeff Saturday to be able to give that insight from the team on, are we truly like building something that can work here? Are the players bought in? What is kind of the locker room perspective of, looking out to the front office? So I think that's the second piece of why he was.
So do you think this is a short-term? Do you think this is a short-term solution in the grand scheme of things, or do you think this could turn into Jeff Saturday being the head coach?
Like, the understanding was like, you're coming in for 6 months and that's about it to evaluate, and then we're moving a different direction.
Well, and that's the third point. So worst case scenario, and this is like, Colts fans, we're all happy it's Jeff Saturday. It's a name we know. Like, we're happy to see him doing something else with the organization. So you've got the point of the Colts fans like, sure, we'll tune in and watch Jeff Saturday coach. Even if we lose, like, we can just see him again wearing Colts stuff. But no, I think it's worst case scenario. We lose out in a situation where he's not expected to succeed, and that does not do anything to damage his legacy. Best case scenario, he wins a few games and you have to question, should we give him a shot? Does he even want a shot? Like, maybe not. I don't know. So I think it's kind of a win-win, because he's such a loved person by the fan base that, like, you're not going to do any further damage with that particular portion of the organization.
So, all right. Yes. Peyton, I agree with all three of your points there. I especially agree with the third one. This segues into what I've had on my mind, been waiting to be able to share on this.
I'm ready to jump into this too.
To this one too. I think this is the most creative way to tank and get away with it and not lose fans and still be profitable. You're bringing in Jeff Saturday, as you said, regardless of what happens, fans are still going to love Jeff Saturday. They are not going to hold Jeff Saturday accountable towards the rest of the season going poorly. So Jeff Saturday doesn't lose any fans there. Fans are still going to want to show up now to support Jeff Saturday as a head coach. You still sell tickets to a team that more than likely is probably set up to not have success moving into the rest of the year. You're not losing anything there. You don't really get questioned because you haven't actually said anything that actually makes it look like you're trying to lose intentionally, but you're certainly not bringing in somebody like, oh, we lost Thomas here for a second. Oh, okay. I guess I'll continue with the hosting duties for the time on. You lose. Oh, here he's back. All right. Let me add him back in here. You don't get necessarily questioned, or you can't really get questioned because you haven't said anything out there that's the case. And again, you're not putting somebody in a position to where you're ruining the rest of their career because you brought somebody in to be set up for failure and not succeed.
I.e. Reggie Wayne. Correct.
Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne would not have the same. It's not. Reggie Wayne is beloved, but he's not Jeff Saturday. It's there's just a different.
Well, there's an
entire career there. It's a different.
Well, what I was saying is more so shielding Reggie Wayne from having a poor showing as a head coach. That's interim head coach, right? Right. Because I think they would eventually love to see him get a chance somewhere.
The piece about Reggie Wayne, I think they could have done the same thing with him. But because he was already in and lower than some of these other folks, it would have seemed weird that, oh, you clearly just favor Reggie because he played for you and was really, really good. And you just elevated him past all of these other coaches who have 8 to 12 years of experience. So I think not that they're against Reggie, but I think it would have looked weird if they elevated him versus you take someone from outside of the coaching staff and place them in. But I mean, look at our coaching staff. It's all former players. You got Reggie Wayne doing wide receivers. You got Cato June doing linebackers. You got Jeff Saturday as head coach. So I mean, let's bring Peyton Manning back as offensive coordinator and see what we can do.
Yes. So we've talked about this before. I never want my team to just give up and fall flat and not try. But I also, if my team's not going to be able to get to the playoffs and win, I don't want them to win in the regular season. I want you to lose games because NFL still goes by last place gets first pick. And if I'm trying to build for what the future is, I want the better picks when it goes in there. And to me, this is the best way to do that. I still have something to kind of be able to cheer for, to be able to see, hey, one of my favorite legendary players out there. But at the same time, I don't have high expectation to do anything, and I don't ruin a person's ability to be able to advance in their career later on because I don't necessarily think that he wants it. So that's my take on it. I do want to, if that is the case, that it is suck for luck 2.0. That's what this is. So I got three ones here for you, Peyton, to tell me which one you like the most. Okay, you ready for these? All right, first one. For crying out loud, we want Shroud.
Okay.
There's one. For crying out loud, we want Shroud. Be done for Bryce Young.
Okay.
Be done for Bryce Young. Or third, goodness gracious, we need Levis.
Gotta go with the first one because I would prefer to have CJ Stroud.
For crying out loud, we want Stroud.
Yeah.
All right, get the shirts printed up. Get Suck for Luck 2.0. Let's get it rolling.
But no, just to wrap up the topic very quickly, I want to touch on a couple of other things. So I know there's been a lot of noise on, well, Jeff Saturday's white. Why aren't you going and trying out and getting a minority coach to be able to step in? I'm like, interim coaches, there's not a lot of time to be able to name them because you pretty much have to name them immediately in season to start preparing. And internally, we did not have a good option of someone who was a minority or not a minority to step up and take that. So even we expand that a little bit to front office. And Jeff Saturday is the most well-equipped person to be able to step in, having just the knowledge of the organization and football in general, to be able to jump in here. So I was a little annoyed to see people kind of yelling about, oh, well, you need to consider some minority candidates. I'm like, look, this was a speed decision. I fully expect for us to, put a very like equitable search out there when we are looking for the head coach. Full expectations. I don't think Jeff Saturday is going to be our coach after this interim stint.
Yeah, it's probably a real discussion if they suck and then he keeps the job moving forward and it doesn't seem like it's a real search and he's like he loses out and continues to keep the job.
But you start to look at, and I think that's some of the question of well, Gus Bradley, is he not going to work out? Well, you bring a guy in like D'Amico Ryans, you are getting a very talented and kind of out of the box defensive mind right now, someone who has experience from the coaching side and the player end. So you fill that defensive and head coach side of things, and then we need to like isolate what these problems are on offense to let them be kind of like an internal little nucleus to fix what has been so bad the last year. So I do not see that being an issue right now. I think it's we got to do something, and we don't have a good scenario in front of us right now. So let's Jeff, come in and help us out here just until we can sort things out.
Yeah, one last thing to just add to that, Peyton. I agree 100%, and that's kind of where I said on there. Like, I feel like if you put a minority into this situation that they're in, you're not setting up that minority to have success to be able to help advance the cause for more minority coaches. So I think you'd be doing a disfavor to the cause, if you would, to be able to make that happen by doing it. So absolutely.
Yeah, and outside of minority or not, like you're not setting a coach up well to be able to do that. I mean, look at the Panthers. He's not really in a good spot to be able to like completely excel as a coach.
Correct.
Stepping in mid-season. But you want to be able to.
It's rare that the interim coach keeps the job. I mean, we saw even with the Raiders, right? Rich Bisaccia did an amazing job, got him to the playoffs as interim coach last year. It didn't get to keep it, right?
Dan Campbell, when he was in Miami, and he like really got the players to buy in, and we all thought he was going to be the head coach, and that still didn't work out. So I think it truly is Jeff Saturday's reputation can salvage a lot of that damage that an interim coach would take on a very bad, unproductive team, so that we can just move forward and not have to deal with the hate.
And for crying out loud, we want Stroud, and then you just move on and keep going. That's right.
Get the t-shirts. Yeah, it's a very unique situation. I get the frustration. I know we're finishing, but I think it's just kind of boiled over time, the frustration, and now they're pinning it every time it comes up, something like this. This is the new situation where they can bring up past experiences. So I get it, but this is very unique, and I don't really see that. Now, Peyton, before we move to the Chiefs and Titans game, can you finally come over to where I've been kind of trying to peek through the last few weeks, and so that Chris Ballard should maybe be on the hot seat? I know you guys love him there, but can you maybe admit that he needs to be on the hot seat here, maybe with this evaluation, to see if he really should be the GM after this year?
I think his evaluation needs to be, what quarterback do you think you can get us, and what quarterback will you get us?
Okay.
Is your proposal another veteran to come in? You're done.
Yeah.
Are you going to be aggressive, trade up in the draft, which is something you don't like doing, and make some sacrifices to potentially build a future? All right, let's talk. Let's see what you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the last few drafts have been pretty rough overall. I mean, you look at those, other than Jonathan Taylor and Pittman, especially, the drafts have been rough. The depth has been.
I would say rough. The drafts themselves have been good, but it's just this preparation around the quarterback. Because you look at some of the
where are the key players in? I know we're going on tangent, but where are the key players in those last few drafts?
Bobby Okereke, EJ Speed, who have stepped in to be able to plug such a hole with Shaq Leonard out. Like, they've been playing out of their minds.
Are any of them at a Pro Bowl level in the last few years? And
Okereke.
And look at the key, the 5 key positions, cornerback. he hasn't drafted studs at those positions last year. I think he needs to be on the hot seat. All right, we'll talk about it again. I know you guys love him. He's been a really good GM the first few years, and it's kind of a little rough patch. But
let's give it a few more weeks before we start GM hop seats.
Yes.
We got a long way to go.
Yeah, no, I know. You never know what they're saying, but yes, I just wanted to kind of tie that in there while we're talking Colts. All right, real quick, as far as the Chiefs and Titans game, the Sunday night game, really good game. Patrick Mahomes is a couple of passes off of the record for most attempts in a game. They pulled through in overtime. We get to see our guy Malik Willis get another start here. And the frustrating thing here, I think I wanted to highlight is they're really in this game. They could have won, and they really shielded Malik, and he looked like he could play. And the team, specifically the coaching, didn't really back him, and the wide receivers really let him down there. And a little bit disappointing. What did you guys see specifically on the Titans side and how they handled Malik Willis?
One of the big things for me is like look at the box score. Like, and you look at the stats that were thrown up, it doesn't look like it was a 20-17 game. It looks like the Chiefs won like 42-10, based on what was actually, statistically what was actually put on the field. So, I mean, as far as Malik goes, like Andy and I have talked about this a million times. I don't know why Vrabel just hates him. I mean, it sounds truly like Vrabel just cannot stand him. I mean, we saw it in preseason early on where he would go out there for like one drive and Vrabel is just lighting him up afterward. And then, whoever is the like third string can go out and just take a hot steaming dump on the field for multiple drives, and Vrabel looks like he doesn't care. So I don't know if it's just the standard that he's expecting out of Malik being so highly touted, but I feel like he's kind of limited in his role. I also think part of that, Malik is limiting himself, because if we can see how much Vrabel is not a fan of his, I would imagine that he probably sees it too.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. The game plan really was so odd, right? You saw this. It goes to where like they're running the ball on 3rd and 8 in a key possession, right? And it's like open up the playbook a bit, right? Let him run around. Let him create something. Do a slant. It's 3rd and 8. Why are you running a draw play? And it's not even like Derrick Henry. You had like Hilliard in the game. I mean, it just, there were some opportunities there to see what he had. And I know he threw a couple of good deep balls and the wide receivers let him down, but the ingenuity of that offense created no space for any of the receivers. And they never set him up to like really have a good third down until the end of the game where he needed to. And it kind of really, it just made no sense. Like you said, it just doesn't make sense on how they're setting him up. If that was going to be the game plan, play the third string guy. If you don't think he's ready, don't play him. But if he's ready and you're playing him, let him throw let him do something. Don't wait till the fourth quarter to have his 10th, passing attempt. It just made no sense. But they're a good team. And they're being conservative.
This is a personal complaint. Don't wait until 6:24 to decide that Tannehill's not waiting, which screws me in fantasy. After you talk all week long that he's probable to play, and there's no quarterback that I can pick up, and I lose by, it was like 25, something potentially doable to be able to win with a quarterback. So, thanks, Vrabel.
Real quick, ADD fantasy. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, both. I drafted them both and both not playing pretty much all year.
Guess who played Josh Palmer this week?
Yeah, there we go. There you go, Kyle. All right, let's move. Any concerns on the Chiefs? Or was this maybe just another? I mean, they've had a couple of these
Titans have a good defense. Titans do have a good defense. But I mean, I don't think that was really an indictment on the Chiefs too much. I think that the Titans just were able to do what Titans do, and that's run the football effectively and play solid D. I mean,
the Chiefs
that's
seem
been
to
their
have
identity.
Right, and the Chiefs seem to have that every year. They have a couple of games where they struggle, more than a couple of games. They have a good number of games that kind of struggle with and pull out, or ones that they lose that you maybe think they shouldn't have, and they're still a super strong playoff team. So it doesn't worry me.
I'm encouraged for Hardman, though. I think he's really finding a good spot in Andy Reid and Bieniemy's playbook. Like, I'm really happy for him because a lot of those receivers kind of played second fiddle, and we didn't know who was going to step up after Tyreek left too. I think he's done a really good job.
Well, that brings in the discussion before our picks of, the Chiefs have had their issues. The Bills obviously lose. We saw the struggles with the Rams and Tampa. Just generally, real quick, who's good, right? Other than the Eagles, and you could even debate them, how good they are. The Vikings have the second best record at 7-1. The Vikings with Kirk Cousins. Who's good? I mean, is this just one of those years that there's so much parity that 15 teams are going to be in it by week 18, and we don't know who has the best odds?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we were going to look at who's actually good, I would say the Bills, in my mind, are still the best overall team. Behind them, if I had to break it apart, it'd probably be the Eagles. It's just one of those years and teams where everybody's just in the right position and they're bought in. Like, good game plan. You have the right guys. You don't have like a million stars out there. Like, the defense, they're not this defense that you would expect is going to be top 5 in the league, but they're playing well. Fletcher Cox is 55 now. He's still out there in his wheelchair playing really well. So
Christian said this is giving him the Panthers, the 2015 Cam Newton Panthers kind of vibes when they go 15-1 that year and ended up losing in the Super Bowl, but it kind of just everything worked out. They stayed healthy, and everybody did their job that year. But it's not like a long-term type of deal. Kyle, anybody? I mean, the Cowboys. You want to nominate them? Are they good? I mean, there's no great teams, it seems like, but there's a lot of good teams. Does that sound right?
Cowboys get Odell, and if Odell can have a resurgence, Cowboys are very much a threat at that point.
I think
they are still a threat without it. Just that steps up the legitimacy with having that extra receiver in there to be able to give Dak another weapon.
What does Odell give you that you don't already have available with CeeDee Lamb, with Michael Gallup, with Noah Brown?
Gallup hasn't been healthy all year, so
but he's back now.
Yes, I still don't. There's still enough of a question there that I think you're still your only real threat, though. Like, that you really defenses worry about is still Lamb. You bring in Odell, and if Odell, like I said, if he can have a resurgence, that gives you that much more to have to be able to guard and play against, open things up. So
I think it opens up CeeDee Lamb more.
Oh, and absolutely.
I think that they'll both get more one-on-one coverages, because I do think CeeDee Lamb has been, unfortunately, he's kind of gotten more of the double teams because Michael Gallup, although he's good, I don't think he's at that level. So I feel like
the size of what Beckham is either. So, like, as far as just ability to go up and grab a ball.
Well, and Odell has always been very good across the middle, just being able to find the open spaces, and he's phenomenal really anywhere he goes. So obviously with the Browns, you had Baker Mayfield missing him, but he was open. So, I mean, I feel like whoever does get Odell, which he's supposed to be cleared by the end of this week, I mean, they're going to bring in someone with a lot of talent. Which I know is this his second or is this his third ACL tear? Is this the second?
Second.
I think it's the second one.
I think Achilles was the other one. Not that that's any better, but
right. So I mean, he's definitely got a ton of wear and tear on his body at this point. So it'll be interesting to see even how he does once he is inserted into a lineup. But I will say I do think that I trust probably the Cowboys the most in the NFC with a healthy Dak Prescott, even more so than the Eagles. I'm going to be very interested to see how they do it at Jerry World. how the Eagles do it, Jerry World. So I like the Cowboys a lot out of the NFC. Which it's funny that the NFC East and the AFC East are the two best divisions in football right now.
So the only reason I would disagree with you slightly on that, Jared, is have you seen the Eagles' schedule?
No, I just mean trusting them to make a deeper run into the playoffs.
Okay. Once in the playoffs, I can agree with that. I just mean who has the ability to finish highest in there. Eagles have by far the easiest schedule remaining of any team.
I did see that. They still have to play the Giants twice, and they still have to play you guys. So I mean that could potentially be 3 losses right there.
Commanders, Colts, Packers, Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints.
Titans is another one they could lose.
Circle that Colts game.
I mean, there's certainly games on there I feel like they're going to stumble. But I mean, they've looked like they've been the most consistent team to this point. So,
ultimately,
I agree with Thomas though. I think ultimately the parity is just so wide right now that
I don't think we can agree on one great team, right? I don't think we could talk for an hour. All 4 of us probably wouldn't agree on this is the best team in football right now. I think there's a lot of parity. There's a lot of good teams, including our Jets. But not including Seattle. Nobody gave love to Seattle, but they're now 6-3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams. No great teams right now. This is weird. It's kind of mirroring what we're seeing in college, which we'll talk about in our college football episode. But the parity there as well, right? How many great teams are there? Unless Georgia starts really rolling off some big wins, no dominant teams. So we're seeing that in both college and NFL. But
I'll kind of agree with Peyton. I think you can. I would feel pretty confident saying that. I think the Bills are still probably.
Is Josh Allen healthy right now? He might miss next week. He's not. He might not play.
I think obviously every team is going to have to deal with their injuries and the people that they have and don't have from a week-to-week basis, inclusive of all of that, because Bills still have their defensive injuries right now with Milano. Like, inclusive of all of that, holistically, like, who do I trust to make it from start to finish? What we've seen now, Bills.
See, I get that, but I don't agree at this point from what we've seen.
Who's your team? Start to finish what you've seen so far.
My point is there isn't. I don't have a team.
If it comes to your head, you have to choose one.
You have to choose a team. Who would you pick?
And then I have to pick the Eagles because they've been the best regular season team. I know they haven't played anybody, but they're playing the best, and they make the least amount of mistakes. And I don't like that because I really don't think I'm not going to trust them in the playoffs. I don't think they're a favorite to get to the Super Bowl or anything like that, but there's so many flawed teams right now, and I think they're showing the least amount of flaws in the regular season right now.
And that's an interesting even point of view as it is because we feel the same way about the Vikings. So you got 2 teams that are going to be a 1 and a 2 seed potentially, and we don't trust either of them. So it's like who else is in that division or in that conference? So anyway, it's very interesting, the whole thing, but. All right, so I think are we moving on to picks now?
Yeah, let's go over to picks. I don't think, like I said, we could talk an hour. We're never going to really agree on this is the best team, but it's fun, right? We're 10 weeks into the NFL, lots of parity, lots of people and their fan bases feel like they're still in it. So that's really good. Sorry, Peyton. Yours not included, but
that's okay. I'm just
you never know.
Counting down till April and we can get to the draft.
We've been there, Jared, and I've been there the last 10 years, so we get that. All right, let's go over to the picks. Only 4 teams on bye this week. We had 6 last week, which is awful. But we're gonna go to Germany. We're gonna start in Germany. This is the first NFL game in Germany, I believe.
I never remember there being an NFL game in Germany before.
Yeah, I don't either. I think this is the first one. And we get the Seattle Seahawks are playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Tom Brady has made it to Germany, and they come back with their momentum and that incredible awful win that Jared jinxed in our text group and against the Rams. Do you guys see that momentum
He gonned them again, Jared Jeffers.
Spoke too soon. Kyle, do you think that momentum continues, or you see
No.
K9 running all over that defense and Seattle getting another win?
Geno Smith and Kenneth Walker the
MVP?
third. Probably an MVP, maybe Rookie of the Year. MVP.
No. I mean Geno Smith.
Oh, Geno Smith.
Geno
No.
Smith MVP. No, you're not on that board. All right.
MVP lands in Dallas.
So you're feeling the Seahawks? Is that what you said, Kyle?
For this game, yeah, give me the Seahawks.
Jared?
I'm going to go Seahawks as well. I think they're playing really good football right now. Something's up with Devin White too, by the way. He something's going on there in Tampa. So I don't trust their defense. Yeah, give me Seattle.
Peyton?
Give me the offensive mind of Geno Smith. I think the worst, I don't know. I feel like the detriment for the Bucs this season has been Todd Bowles. I don't need to tell the Jets fans, like, he has his faults, and I think that they're being accentuated right now with the Bucs.
Peyton, if you haven't watched the Bucs defense, like, look at some of the tape with Devin White. I'm serious. Like, something is really going on. His effort looks terrible. He doesn't look like he wants to be out there. So something's going on.
I think Shaq Barrett going out, like they had, who's the other linebacker?
Levante David?
Yeah, it is David. Because White got hurt earlier in the season, and then when he gets back, I think Shaq Barrett essentially went out. I think that they're just kind of demoralized from kind of their core group of guys who's productive every week, just not being there. So I think the Shaq Barrett one was a big blow to those guys in the front eight.
You guys are all right, but I think there might be a little spark there. This is when I'm taking all bias out of it. Give me the Bucs. I think they found a little bit of something. Don't know if it lasts all year. They're probably still an 8-win team, but give me the Bucs. All right, let's go over to game 2. We got our 7-1 Vikings. They are at the Bills. This one's going to be tough because we do not know if Josh Allen will play in this game. He's got the UCL injury. He missed 4 games his rookie year with a similar injury. There's even talks of Tommy John, something like that. We don't know. My guess is he's out, so give me the Vikings on the road.
Is this in prime time?
That's a great question.
Can we do the caviat of if Josh Allen is healthy, that we pick the Bills? If not, we pick the Vikings?
No caveats. No, you just gotta go for it. I'm going to assume that he is not playing, and shirtless Kirk Cousins with the swag now is gonna get the win.
It's not in prime time.
This is a 1:00 game. There you go. Give me Vikings. Kyle,
go green. Give me Kirk Cousins. Let's go Vikings.
Jared.
Man, this is tough. I think even with Josh Allen, I'd probably still take the Vikings. I feel like they're going to try to have something to prove. So I'm going to say the Vikings.
Peyton?
Vikings have been such an inconsistent team this year, and I don't like it. Sure, they have ended up winning, but like they're almost given up their games. And then their offense, they're getting lucky getting down the field with penalties. Like, it's nothing that they're doing. They're just getting down the field with penalties sometimes because another team is being boneheaded. Case Keenum is a quarterback who has been in the league for a while.
He is a quarterback.
Yeah, but he's been in the league for a while is the key part. Like, the fact that if it were a young QB, I'd pick the Vikings, but it's Keenum and he's seasoned. Give me Bills.
All right, let's go over to Kyle's Cowboys coming off a bye on the road at the Packers. Packers have lost 5 straight games, I believe. Kyle, who you got?
Mike McCarthy is going to go back to Green Bay.
Revenge game.
And he's going to win because the Packers are terrible. Rodgers has nobody to throw to, and that defense is going to stop him.
Jared.
Cowboys.
It's weird to pick against the Packers this many times, but I'm going to say the Cowboys as well. Yeah, I'm going to say the Cowboys too.
If I agree with Jared, it's weird to pick against them, but I'm going Cowboys. I think Aaron Jones avoided serious injury, but I still don't know the extent to his injury. If he's going to be limited and Dylan's going to end up getting more. So, yeah, I think that's their best hope at offense is Aaron Jones, and I don't think he'll be 100%.
Yeah, I really wanted to. This had the makings of a trap game. Also, Aaron Rodgers doesn't lose 6 games in a row, but the injuries there. I'd also kind of be worried, Mike McCarthy getting comfortable in Green Bay again. He liked his massages there, right? That's why he got fired. He got too comfortable. So as long as the massages stop and he doesn't get falling back into old routines, give me the Cowboys on that one as well. I think this one's a sweep here. All right,
Micah Parsons MVP.
Micah Parsons MVP. I like it. All right, LA Chargers, interesting team. They are banged up, but they're on the road at San Francisco, who's coming off a bye as well. I'll start. Coming off a bye, they're getting a little bit healthier. San Francisco is the healthier team here. They're starting to use McCaffrey more, especially he should be able to be fully integrated after the bye now. I think San Fran wins this one. Kyle?
I didn't think the Chargers would win last week, really. So I picked them, but I didn't really have a whole lot of confidence in it. Let's go the opposite on that. Let's go 49ers. It's a shot in the dark. I have no idea.
Jared?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers as well. Like you said, they're the healthier team, and I feel like they got to keep pace with the Seahawks. So I got the 49ers here.
Peyton?
Give me the Niners. I'm picking defense. The Chargers have struggled, and the Niners are one of the better defenses in the league right now. So I think that, unfortunately, I like Justin Herbert. I like his offensive weapons, but they're banged up. I think they just make it a nightmarish day for Herbert.
Yeah, only one Bosa brothers playing in this one, right? I think Joey Bosa's still hurt. So we get Nick Bosa, who is actually having a really good year. He's in the Defensive Player of the Year talks as well. So that's a full sweep for the San Francisco 49ers. Last game, loser leaves town game, maybe. I mean, this is a battle of 2-3 win teams quickly falling out of pace with Seattle. We have the Arizona Cardinals, the ultimate bad vibes, bad body language team, going to the Rams, who are just the ultimate banged up team. Kyle, this is anybody's guess.
You're going to hear Christian in a few seconds rob my joke, but
you get it first.
Call of Duty.
Yes, he's on 2.
Comes out. How could you pick the Cardinals to be able to win with Call of Duty coming out? But I'm going to pick the Cardinals because I don't trust the Rams at all. So
there's no easy answer here. Jared, what do you have here?
There really isn't. My gut's telling me to pick the Cardinals for some reason. I just feel like their defense will be good enough against Stafford, who's struggled this year. So give me Arizona.
Peyton.
I don't like this one either. You made bad picks for games this week, Thomas.
Try to pick another one. Not another good week.
No, you didn't want to put the Colts in there?
We picked the Lions and the Bears.
So I'm going Cardinals too, only on the basis that when quarterbacks are trying to make a late push at the end of games, Kyler's been a little more successful. Which is probably just a terrible reason to pick a team.
No, I get what you're saying.
Cardinals.
The upside of the offense, we've seen it a little bit more with Arizona this year. I think, for the sake of another sweep, I think I'll pick Arizona as well. Just because if they reach the potential, I think, like you said, their offense can be better. The Rams, I think, if they actually had first-round picks, I'd be worried that they tank at this point. And I'd worry that McVay would jolt over to Thursday Night Football after this year and retire, like we thought he might this year. It just looks bad. It looks like a washed year. The Super Bowl hangover is bad. Give me Arizona.
All right, so we have 3 sweeps here, and then the only difference is the Bucks for Thomas and then the Bills for Peyton. Let's bring in Christian here, see what he has to say.
All right, about to have a softball game. So here's my NFL picks for the week. First of all, in Germany, going to take the Seahawks over the Bucks. Then I am going to take the Bills over the Vikings. I could regret this one depending on Josh Allen's injury, but I am going to take the Bills. Going to take the Cowboys over the Packers in Green Bay. Think they get it done. Chargers versus 49ers. I'm going to stick with the 49ers. Really like what they have going on there. And then finally, Cardinals at Rams. Fade the Cardinals since Call of Duty came out. Going to take the Rams in that one.
Oh, he changes it up there. That was it. So almost the sweep for the last three.
Well, thank you, Christian. That was good. Hey, that's dedication right there. In the car on his way to softball.
That was quick.
It was quick.
No fluff.
I like it.
Straight, no chaser.
Well, that'll do it. That's NFL. Good talk, boys. NFL in the bag. Week 10. We've got a lot to look forward to. I appreciate you guys tuning in to another edition of the NFL version of the Illegal Contact Podcast. We'll be back next week to talk more, and make sure you check out our college football section as well, coming out a little bit later.
Like and subscribe.